The National Social Safety Net's Coordination Office says the country's social register is an aggregation of state registers. In a tweet on Friday, the office said that the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory built the register. It said the states built the register using a community-based targeting approach undertaken by targeting teams and enumerators engaged by states and overseen by their ministries of planning. Its position comes after the National Economic Council faulted the nation's social register while deliberating on palliative measures for Nigerians. The NEC, presided over by Vice President Kashim Shettima, resolved not to use the document compiled under our former president, Muhammadu Buhari, for lacking credibility. Well, in the meantime, the governor of Kaduna State, Uba Sani, has said that the comments made by governors at the National Economic Council meeting has been over-amplified, and that what the governor said was that the register needs to be updated. The governor maintained that his position has always been that at this critical time, cash transfer should not be something to bring up. The governor, however, noted that the government should first ensure that the financially excluded individuals, especially in the Northwest, are taken care of and brought into the financial system before implementing the cash transfer program.
I think maybe most of the comments made by my colleagues at the NEC meeting yesterday, I think some people over-amplified the comment. In my opinion, what we actually said was that the social register need to be updated. As you are aware, most of those names were put together as far back as 2019 in some cases. You will agree with me that the list need to be updated because looking at the situation, let me give you an example of Kaduna State. There are some local governments in my state that were not captured because of the problem of insecurity at that critical time. I'm talking about some local governments like Binangwara local government, Giyo local government, even some local governments like Zangon Katab in southern Kaduna, and some part of Kaduna Central, some local government were missing, largely because of the issue of insecurity. So I believe really and truly that is why some people question the credibility of the social register, but the fact that we are calling for the register to be updated does not mean we are saying completely that the register was a scam. I believe some names there were captured properly, but in life, nothing is constant. You have to continue to update the register. There were some people that were not captured last time, and today you can agree with me that the vulnerable people within the society because of certain things that happen. Of course, you'll agree with me. In the last 3 years, we faced some critical crisis of COVID-19 pandemic and many other social crises that happened in our own country. A lot of people lost their businesses completely, and I believe these are the kind of people that needs to be captured. So the register, I agree 100% that needs to be updated. That is number one. But my position really is not even about whether we should really use the register or not. My position has always been the fact that as the former chairman committee on banking, who had a responsibility at that time overseeing the entire financial services sector of our own country, you will agree with me that the statistics at the moment that has been provided by the NDIC, and if you go to Central Bank, you also see the same statistics by the Development Finance Department of Central Bank. You will agree with me that about 70% of the rural population in Northwest are completely financially excluded, are unbanked. So if you want to transfer money to 8 million Nigerians, for instance, and you are telling me that you want the vulnerable people to benefit from the transfers, I will disagree with you completely that if you look at the current statistics, like I said, 70% of the adult age between 18 and above in northern Nigeria, particularly the northwest part of Nigeria, are completely unbanked. So for me, how do you really transfer this kind of money to them? I think a lot of work have to be done. When I was the chairman committee on banking, I encouraged the central bank concerning the fact that even during the World Bank IMF meeting in 2021, the position was very clear that government should try as much as possible to capture a lot of people that are on bank and open accounts for them. And we have not been able to achieve that up to this moment, and I will urge that we need to try as much as possible to open accounts for those that are vulnerable, so that at least whenever we're transferring money, the money will go to the right people. But at this critical time, the problem is that I don't think even the people who are going to transfer the monies to them will even access the money.
All right, it is good that the governor, we played this video because a lot of newspapers were carrying the story that he had said that the cash transfer scheme was a scam. But he said clearly there that the governors agreed that it needed to be updated. We did see Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo say that the National Register lacked integrity and that it needed to undergo some sort of a stress test. And I think that is clear. It is clear that, people have said that those names may not be the correct names. And also the fact that he stated that the people in the Northwest, 70% of them are on bad. Sheito, Steve, I've always talked about this fact, that how are they going to transfer this money to the poorest of the poor? They talked about some mobile wallets. That's not possible. 60 million or 65 million Nigerians do not have bank accounts, so it is impossible. We saw during the Buhari administration, we saw those pictures up there where we saw the humanitarian minister's affair going around, giving market women money in the market. But how do you even... Trader money, yes. How do you even calculate that? How do we know how much money was given to those people? So I think that what the NEC has done at this point is very important, that they had to suspend that register to make sure that everybody is accounted for. But also, like we said during the show last week, that it's sort of an indictment to the governors that are doing a second term, because why haven't they spoken up? Why didn't they speak up if we know that the state register is an aggregation by the state itself?
Definitely. If you think about the timing, and we spoke about this yesterday as well, and the fact that all of this is happening after, they are now seeing the harsh results of fuel subsidy. These are things that should have been handled even before, allowing Nigerians, or I would say the poorest of the poor Nigerians, start to feel these grants. Now, on Thursday, of course, National Economic Council proposed that the state governments should implement these cash transfer programs using their own state aggregated social registers to soften the harsh economic realities since the discontinuance of petrol subsidy. But it still begs the question, like you said, Oji, there are a lot of people, in fact, a lot of people. I did a bit of a survey, even on my streets, just to kind of figure out, okay, have you heard about this this transfer?
On your street?
Yes, on my street. I spoke to people on my street. I spoke to people, these Hausa men that even come and take, come and they're the ones in charge of their work with LASMA, people that kind of just do this, let's say, petty activities just to kind of get their daily, like I would say, their daily 2K. And I asked a lot of them if they knew about a social register. They didn't. In fact, there were about 2 of them that said that they didn't even have bank accounts, that the only money that they know is the money that they make, and that's what they used to invest back in their business literally the next day and buy food.
So when some of those people don't believe in bank accounts.
Exactly.
No matter how hard you try to convince them to open an account, they don't believe in it.
And if you think about these are people that they are handling, the highest amount of money that they are looking at or handling is about 5 to 10K. So it doesn't, putting money in accounts just seems like really far from them. In those kind of situations, what exactly is federal government and state government doing to make sure that they meet these people? There's been a lying joke saying that, during the elections, when it's time to make sure that those people, the people that deserve that they need to go out and vote, when they need to give them that money, for some reason, the money gets to them. But in a situation like this, it's looking like, are we using the social register? Are we using this register or are we not? At this point, we really need to sit down and figure out how this is going to go from the front page of this day or Vanguard or Punch talking about this transfer scheme. We've been talking about it for almost 2 months now. Let us get this show on the road. It's time for the people to receive the monies that has been promised to them by the federal government.
All right. My position is that Governor Ubasani can deodorize or try to garnish what was said at FEC, but newspapers and the media in general reported them fairly, because we listened clearly to the governor of Anambra State and the governor of Ogun State, who spoke on their behalf. And the position was clear. They were discontinuing with the proposition that the 8,000 naira to 12 million households that would translate to 60 million Nigerians should be discontinued because the governors didn't trust the list. And part of what they actually arrived at was that each state should develop their own. We were not told that each state had a register that they will improve upon. So if we're now being told that the register was developed across states and the FCT.
But they were.
That's what we're told, right?
Okay.
And we know that the World Bank actually was impressed, endorsed it, and recommended it, to a few African countries. Who developed the register? When you say that in consonance with the ministries of, what did they call it? National development or something like that in every state, even if there are no commissioners to say that I was there when it happened, because they will have been changed, there will be permanent secretaries, there will be directors, there will be assistant directors who are in the system. So people can authenticate that truly this is how we arrived at it. So it is good for the nation what is happening, so that we can truly have a stress test on the register. Who is keeping the register, by the way? What we have at the federal, is it what we have in all the states, for example? And then more importantly is to say that don't allow the governors to totally hijack these things. Because in developing their own or improving on the list, the risk is that you will find only party members and people that are close, to the political machinery of the state on the list. And that is dangerous for what the government is trying to achieve.
But who will produce it? It has to be the states. It's the state. Anyways, regardless.
States include local government.
They have to all come together.
Are closer to the people.
But that was
Let them be involved.
That was what Charles Soludo said at the meeting. I heard him clearly. I played a soundbite. He said they were going to go all the way down to do that.
They just have to be open.
Yes.
Remember, Shaitan, we had about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had Andieyo, who was one of the NGO people, and who said that this thing worked. And they can authenticate the fact that, especially when the vice president was supervising the thing. But of course, we saw what happened when a Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, was created and a minister was appointed without even going through the Senate, confirmation. We saw the shenanigans that happened. That should not continue.
Absolutely. We'll move over to our next story then. The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Abiodun Lagbaja, has assured residents of Mangu local government area of Plateau State of their safety. The Chief of Army Staff issued the assurance at the flag-off of Operation Leopard Teeth to put an end to incessant attacks in the community, which has resulted in over 300 deaths, while thousands remain displaced. Well, Arise correspondent Douglas Francis compiled this report.
Communities in Mangu, Rinyom, Bakinladi, and Boku's local government areas of Plateau State have been under severe attacks by unknown gunmen, leading to killings of over 300 persons, displacement of thousands of people, and the destruction of properties worth millions of naira in the state. The Chief of Army Staff on arrival inspected the quarter guard and received a briefing from men of Operation Safe Haven. The Chief of Army Staff, while flagging off Operation Leopard Teeth, says the operation will end the security challenges in the communities. He commended Nigerian soldiers for their effort in tackling insecurity while challenging them to take their duties more seriously and conduct themselves in a professional manner, even as he expects them to be more proactive in their activities.
I've encapsulated my command philosophy, which is to have a Nigerian army that is well-trained, equipped, and highly motivated towards achieving our constitutional responsibility in a joint environment. That means you must work with all security agencies. You must work with other services. You must work with local communities. Is that clear? Yes, sir! Is that clear? Yes, sir! So, now listen. You are the people's army. When they send a distress call to you, you must respond. And you must respond as quickly as possible. Is that clear? Yes, sir!
The Chief of Army Staff later visited the internally displaced persons camp, where he held a meeting with leaders of the communities on how to chart a new course for the communities. Council Chairman of Mangu, Marcus Artu, applauded the stakeholders' engagement as panacea for peace in the community.
The whole idea is for us to find a common ground as stakeholders, as security agencies, as community leaders in our right to ensure that we return peace to Mangu local government.
Well, this is a great, operation, leopard teeth. While a lot of people have applauded it, many are saying it might have come too late. Over 300 people have died in the last 3 months. In the last 3 months. What happened then? I mean, we've had our military officers go into these types of hideout and things like that, but we need to see more, especially in those areas. Plateau State has been in the news for more than, 3-4 months now? Yeah. We've seen people die. We've seen houses being razed, children being killed. We are hoping that this operation will put some sort of, peace in that community. And other people are still, raising that point about state policing, having to empower vigilantes within the local communities. These are all important conversations to have. Nigerians can't keep dying. I'm sorry, Steve.
Yeah. But we're tired of promises.
Yes.
General Agbaja is not new. The only thing that is new is his current position.
Correct.
And he was celebrated as a gallant, soldier,
yes.
When he was a younger officer. So he should deliver, because Plateau Benue will be the litmus test for him and for the president. And thankfully, President Tinubu has said, go after the bad guys in Plateau, bring peace to Plateau State and to an extent, to Benue State. So this is what we want to see, and let's hope that the Operation Leopard Teeth will deliver.
I'm just glad that they've gone this route, because there was that conversation about dialogue, trying to have conversation with this terrorist. And I'm happy that that's not the direction in which he has gone. I was looking at the name, Operation Hakorin Damisa, the leopard's teeth. Yeah. And I was thinking about Amotekun, which is supposed to be also. So there's something about that, the leopard, lion.
They always come up with these names.
Thinking about the name, of course, but
it
very...
was crocodile.
Hadinkai, there was also...
in the southeast.
Yeah, we of course know about the ferociousness of such an animal. So we're expecting that same ferociousness. Like Oji said, we're looking at about 300 persons who have been killed in that area. Very important that this particular project that is launched is specifically focused on ending the spate of attacks and killing in the local government area. I'm very happy that they've gone this route. No dialogue. Go in there and go in with force and make sure you give the people who this is for the security that they need and they deserve.
Force is important, but you also have to understand the context in which some of these killings, have been done. The farmer-herder clashes. You understand? Speak with the governors. Speak with the other military apparatuses, not just, the army. It is important, because the reason why it has filtered, for up till now, is because we have not addressed the root cause.
Absolutely.